Recording in progress.
Hey, it's all about quality, not about quantity. Right? Let's get back to another round of Brewsday Tuesday with DreZ and Big Nate.
Another deep crack means we're getting deeper into Brewsday Tuesday, brought to you by the Cellar Restaurant and Six-Pack Store right there in downtown Blacksburg. These beers did not come from there because they came straight from the source. WAR Craft Brewery is what we're focusing on today, and we happen to have the brewmaster, the man himself. Brad made these beers, I think especially for us, Nate.
I like to think everyone does everything just for us.
So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to talk about this one that I just popped. I know that he alluded to the funny different flavors he does with stouts. So I just popped the chocolate mint oatmeal stout coming in at 5.3% ABV. I'm going to pour it in the glass, and I'm expecting it to be quite a dark beer. It looks like yours was dark there, too.
Yeah. So my mom told me what she had grabbed, and I've never been so excited in my life. A Nitro Porter, which looks like I just opted for a cup of black coffee, but 5.7%, and man, if you want a little tidbit about me, we've of course talked about it on the show, is I really love the darker beers, not necessarily as a regular drinking, but if you're particularly hungry and you want some dessert, nothing beats a darker beer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. So, Brad, without further ado, can you give us the official name of this, the chocolate mint oatmeal stout that I popped, and give us a little background on how this one came to be?
So the chocolate mint was it's our rendition of our Nor and our Vader stouts, which we chocolate and minted for Patty's Day. So that's a remnants of our St. Patty's Day that's left. It's now kicked and gone forever.
I got the last one.
Until next year.
All right, well, I'm going to have to tackle you and steal that.
Yeah. I'll let you try it. I'll let you try some, Nate. And then what about yours? You got the
Nitro Porter.
Yeah, that's the War Train. War Train Porters is kind of it's also kind of a kick to history too, where Culpeper was one of the, I believe history buffs can shun me, but it was Culpeper was the first place where troops were boarded onto a train to go to battle during the Civil War. So they put them on the train station here downtown on Davis Street, and they shipped them to Manassas to fight. So that's our War Train tribute to that.
I think you're 100% right. And I only know that not from growing up there, but from a reference made on an episode of Sopranos to Culpeper, Virginia.
That's right. I remember they were driving through Culpeper. They had some hillbilly whores that they met down that way, if I remember Polly saying it correctly. But and Brad, I know you grabbed another beer during the break too. So what are you sipping on these days?
I'm still pounding away at the Hells. So,
oh, you are? Okay. You stepped aside saying you were going to get another one. I was like, did he pour one or not? I didn't notice.
So is it working so far for you?
Oh, it's delicious. I'm going to have to stop here. I've got the rest of the day to survive.
Hey, man, day drinking's the way to do it.
With that said, though, we do lower ABV beers because I believe in, if you run a tasting room, you want session ability, not one and done. A lot of guys I love Belgian quads and these, 9, 10, 11, 12% beers, but you really can only drink one. So it's kind of a poor business model to have that come out of your taps. If that, you got to serve it in smaller glasses and charge more for it. And I haven't really gotten there yet. I've got a couple of imperial stouts and double IPAs that I want to put on tap eventually, but I really I pay attention to the customers to see what they want, before I go off and make things. I literally ask them, what, I'm about to kick the Vienna. What do you want on tap? And I will make it, with our regulars. So like for our ciders, I yesterday gave my best customers that were in, like, what do you want to see? I'm going to take the margarita cider off tap. Do you want a black cherry, a blueberry, or another margarita on, or a peach cider? And they're like, oh yeah, give us a peach, so we'll be doing the peach cider next, or the blueberry.
Peach or blueberry. Yeah, those all sound like good options. It's funny that you brought up the ABV because I was surprised when I saw, the chocolate mint oatmeal stout over here. I would have thought it. I was expecting a higher ABV, but yeah, it's coming in at 5.3. And I never even really thought about that aspect of it, that it's probably a smart business model to just make everything pretty much sessionable beers, because then it's easier to keep them coming. And yeah, like you said, those big beers, I am a fan of them, but you're right, they're always the priciest beers on the menu, and you only have, like one or two. And then also, I could also see as a business aspect, if you don't serve the big, crazy beers like that, you don't have to worry as much about some idiot coming in and not knowing their tolerance, and the next thing you know, you're having to deal with some drunk a-hole, So, but you did mention that you do have like an Imperial, the double IPAs and stuff. Is that just stuff that you're brewing like for personal? You're just trying stuff and then you decide whether you want to make it a little bit bigger of a batch to put on tap?
It's actually in the lineup for next fall, to put something heavier on. And I'm actually going to probably bottle those beers and sell them as bottles rather than have them on tap, just for folks who want to take them home and get crazy, like 1 liter bottles. And, but, mentioning the high ABV, our actual best selling beer when we started was our lowest ABV beers, like the Belgian Wit was coming in at 4.7%. That's English low.
Mm-hmm.
That's drinking on the, so people loved it. They could sit, the first thing people ask is, what do you got, like Bud Light, right? You've never been to a craft brewery before, you ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've actually backed the grain bill on a lot of our beers to just keep them in the 5 range or the 4.5 range, because that's what they want, and like you said, I can't stop the people coming in that have been to 5 places before mine to keep drinking. You kind of give them a good look over and make sure they're not wobbling around before they keep drinking at your place, because I don't want the responsibility of that. But I haven't had that problem yet. But no, this weekend has been a lot of tourists coming in. We're their 5th stop, we're their 3rd stop, and I try to, what do you recommend? So I push them towards the lighter stuff. So keep them safe, if they don't have a driver or whatever, or if I don't want their wife who's totally sober, totally annoyed by this guy. Like, hey, why don't you drink the water here? Yeah, here's a wit,
Yeah, it makes sense. So obviously, I know that the actual brewery aspect, of you being open for business is fairly new. But have you been brewing for a long time? I mean, it seems like you know a lot about beer, and you've been, you got a few different flavors. You're already branching out and making some crazy chocolate mint oatmeal stouts and ambers that have Saison S to them. So how long have you been actually brewing?
I started brewing in 2012.
Okay,
a
decade.
I did a kit. I think it was campfire because we burned the kit and it tastes like charcoal. Right after that, I said, what does it cost to get into all grain beer? And it was literally, for the equipment you buy to do kit beer to jump to all grain for 5-gallon batches is $50. You got to buy a cooler with a false bottom in it. That's it. You can buy more expensive ones, but the cooler with the false bottom, and boom, you're in business for all grain batches, where you can now control tons of different tones of your beer and have fun with them as well. It's a lot more fun to do all grain than kit beer. I've had some fantastic kit beers, but I'm a kind of a snob in a way of craft is craft, right? So if you're not grinding the grains, mashing the grains, boil, if you're not doing all the steps yourself, it ain't craft, and so the folks out there that they'll buy the Pico brews, just add grain and water and the thing does all the temperature settings for you. I'm sorry, that's not craft beer. You're making beer at home, but that's not craft beer.
It's copycraft.
There's a place for that for everyone. Yeah, don't call it craft, man. You're mixing ingredients. You're not Betty Crocker. It's one of the things I take pride in, every aspect of crushing the grains, tasting things, and being kind of the chef.
Yeah.
And that's why my beers they change so often too, because every one I make, I say, oh man, this needs a kick, or a little bit less of that, or a little more of this. So the Vader Stout, which is that chocolate mint there, it's the second rendition of our stout that we sold the first time, and it's a little heavier than the first one because I wanted a more oatmeal body to it. So I added 3 more pounds of oatmeal to that beer.
So yeah, that was actually one of my other questions, because I know you said that you don't really have, I guess, a lot of breweries will have their flagship beer or their staples that, they're known for, but you like to just try new things. You just kind of keep rotating through the taps. But I guess if you get one that's a fan favorite, you'll kind of go back to it and try and somewhat recreate it, but maybe just try and improve it a little bit, huh?
Yeah, so as much as I don't like doing that, I have enough regulars that demand the Vienna is on all the time, and or the Scotch, one of those two. So I will keep those on permanently as I continue to listen to our customers, because they're good people. I'm actually friends with a lot of them. They help me around the farm sometimes, so I'm very appreciative of that. There's good people in Culpeper too, so I really have been blessed to have those folks come to our place. So
that's 1 or 2 taps dedicated to that. How big of a tap system do you have down there? How many beers do you have on tap at any given time?
12 taps. 4 to 5 of them are usually ciders all the time. So the rest are beers. And the wines, of course, are bottles.
So I do want to mention the cider a little bit, because I had the pleasure of having some over the weekend. And first of all, there are 2 ciders that are my brand new favorites. The strawberry rhubarb and the coming in hot, which is from what I understand, an apple cider that is aged in bourbon barrels.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right.
So first I want to ask about the strawberry rhubarb. Why strawberry rhubarb?
So we partnered with the winemaker at Horton Vineyards to make that one, and it is one of our best sellers. They do a great job of blending and putting some crystal clear ciders out there. So I've had some favorite cideries out there that make clear ciders, and I think they're the best ones in the market right now. I've learned a lot from them. I've started making ciders here on site here, so I'm peppering in my ciders with our partner ciders. Like I said, we lease the orchard. There are apples, but we rely on an experienced cider maker for those there, and they're just killing it. So and people who are new to ciders, ciders are simple. They're crushed apple juice that's fermented down to almost zero flavor. So it's alcoholic water with an apple, kind of aroma to it. And then they're back sweetened with a syrup. It's as simple, and then they're carbonated. It's as simple as that. It's kind of crazy that something so simple like seltzers. Seltzers are really just, you're seeing like Corona and Budweiser and all these big names out there. They're putting all these seltzers out. Well, seltzers is dextrose, like sugar and water that's fermented and then added syrup to. And people are just dying over it, so they love it. But of course, the big names jumped all over that because it cost them pennies to make a seltzer that they'll charge $6 a glass for over a beer, which would cost them about $2.50 a glass worth of materials, right? So it's a no-brainer for a business. I like them. I'll drink seltzers all day long. I drink Mike's Hard Lemonade and stuff like that, and they're easy drinking. But it's just, having that variety. I will jump all over the place when I'm drinking. It's whatever mood you're in. You're riding the lawnmower or something. You want, something that's not going to make you jump under the blade. You got to keep it light, right? So, That, or if you got a long drive, you got to keep it light. Or if it's the last beer of the night and you're watching some crazy movie that you're going to be in depth watching, you might crack open that heavy hitter, that's going to get you a little psychedelic here. So we're, luponics, right? So the hops in the beer can really get you a nice heavy IPA, like a Stone, that's going to punch you in the face with hops. And you're going to enjoy some luponics going on in your brain there. A lot of people don't think about that, though. Those are acids that are literally acids. So they kind of have the LSD effect on some people. They really do hit me that way. So I got to stay away from them a lot of times. The hangovers are real.
Mm-hmm.
No, fully familiar with that. I just what I'm hearing is after the distillery, your next move is seltzers.
If I had room for seltzers, I would do them right now. But like I said, we got a 12 tap, a very small, quaint tasting room. We're built for small audiences. We're learning very quickly though that the public does not care how small we are. They are crowding in, and between the large amount of tourists that we get and our growing locals that are coming to us, we're having to expand a little bit. That's why we're adding the awning over the deck so they get some sunshade and some rain defense out there. I'm putting another deck, a 24-foot deck on the side there, so I'll seat another 15 people. And we have a full, 80 by 80 beer garden that's surrounded by grapevines that we have picnic tables in for folks to sit under with sunshades over it. So, that doubles as a wedding venue as well. So, we hold weddings out there for small parties of under 100 people. So it's definitely growing. So I get asked all the time, what are you going to do for, when you got 300 people out here, and that becomes the norm. And I will never grow our beer system because I believe in the small batch is where the quality is. The three barrel is the magic number for best quality for volume. You jump to 5 and 7 and 20 and 50 barrels, and it's a lot of guesswork. Unless your guy's in there brewing every day and he knows the back of his hand and can produce art out of it. So I think 3 is where it's at. Having the other things to drink on hand, like the cider, the wine, and may end the distillery soon, it gives me a break from brewing, so I don't have to brew every day, even though we're only brewing 60-gallon batches at a time. We recently started distributing to 309 Grill and to Jackleg downtown here, so they've got 5-gallon batches of the IPA and the Culpeper Red on there. And I just did that to, they were looking for local stuff, so I'm helping them out, and it helps me out too, that I give them a case of glasses so they can serve it in our glasses. And you'll be around here 10 years and people will still not have heard of you. So it's a continuing effort to get your name out there in market.
Yeah, man. Well, the proof is in the pudding. I'm sure more and more people are going to be coming through there, not only because of the quality of the beer, but like you said, the variety of having the wines as well as the ciders too. That being said, man, the chocolate mint oatmeal stout, as expected, this is, I don't know. I haven't tried what you're sipping over there, the nitro, which I actually did have a nitro question. I'll do that after I untap this one, man. But yeah, the chocolate mint oatmeal stout, it's anything that's got chocolate and mint, I'm pretty much there. And I'm not a big stout guy, so obviously I like it to have that sort of, more dessert-esque, because I'm not a coffee drinker, so I don't really like the darker beers that are coffee-esque, the porters and whatnot. But when you sweeten it up for me, that's what makes it doable by my boat. So I think this is an easy 4.75 in my boat, man. This is a delicious, delicious beer. I know you're looking forward to trying it as well. But the nitro, man. So how did that nitro carry in the crowler? Because I know that when you get a nitro canned beer, usually they got the little what do they call that? The little dongle thing.
I call them ping pong balls.
The little ball or whatever. So how do you keep a nitro nitro-esque in the crowling process?
So nitrogen, opposed to carbon CO2, the bubbles are about a quarter or smaller size than a CO2 bubble. So that's why it's smoother on the palate, because they're littler. There's more of them traveling across your tongue than a CO2 bubble, which actually is a sharp feeling on your tongue. And if you smell CO2, it'll actually make you sneeze because it's so sharp. But I heavily nitrogenate my keg, so it's right at the point where it's perfect coming out of the tap. And I actually have a nitrogen tap, of course. It's not just a regular beer tap. It's a nitrogen purpose tap that runs the beer through a bunch of little copper rods to kind of smooth out the beer. It takes 5 minutes to pour one, of course, because they're foamy.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like that can, probably half an hour to pour that dadgum can.
Jeez.
So it's just taking the time to do that. So when you buy a beer that has a widget in it that foams it up for you right before you open it, like a Guinness, the little plastic ball flying around inside there, they're selling that beer with no nitrogen in it. And then that little guy just excites everything and adds a couple of volumes of nitrogen back into the liquid before it hits your glass. So it gives it that fresh from the tap feel.
Okay.
Rather than if your can's leaking somewhere, because they can leak.
Yeah, God forbid. So
there's no such thing as a 100% perfect seal, but well, I guess there is hermetic sealing, but that's not cost effective. I really hate letting you go first because I was, full disclosure, going to give this a 4.75 as well, but now I feel like I'm copying you.
Copycat.
So I'll give it a 4.76, and Untapped can deal with it. It's a Nitro Porter, one of my favorite styles of all time. You're not going to drink like 7 of these necessarily in one sitting, but with it being a 5.7% ABV, you got some room to maneuver, and you could fill an afternoon with it. It's very smooth, and like I said, it kind of has those same notes that coffee hit in your mouth and in your body. And if there were ever a breakfast beer, this Nitro Porter is one of them. So 4.76.
The chocolate and the black patent malts really give it that kind of coffee finish. It's really light compared to my last one, though. So I lightened it up so it would be more porter-esque than a stout would be.
Nice. Well,
I think we should make him untap that Helles.
Yeah, I was actually
not on the menu
That's
yet.
where I was going. I was like, I don't know if we will ever get the chance, but how are you feeling with that? I mean, where are you standing with the Helles that you've been working on?
Oh, it's going on. It's going. It's the recipe is in the lineup. It's probably the next beer getting made. So, my plan, like any plan, as soon as contact with the real world, plan fails, right? So, I always put together a list of beers I want to make next, and then what's actually in the cold room determines what gets made next. So, if I think I've got a shortage of IPA coming up, so it could get bumped up in line to get made next. But as of today, the Helles is getting made next. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to do a true Marzen that's made earlier, not made 2 weeks before Oktoberfest, like everyone else does. So I'm going to make it in April and age it at least as many months as I possibly can, something with some raisiny esters in it. And then we'll have that for our Oktoberfest. So we're gearing up now for the Culpeper Gnarly Hops Festival on the 30th down by the train station, where I've got I've got a box trailer that I've turned into a mobile bar. The back lays down and you walk up to a bar with 4 taps on it. So it's a pretty cool concept that we'll be serving out of, and I can bring that thing everywhere and serve beer out of it.
So when do you sleep?
I don't sleep. So
That's what it's starting to sound like. You got a lot going on, man.
I have a full-time job too. I'm a scientist for spacecraft systems, 40 hours a week.
Oh my gosh.
So that's my normal day job that I'm neglecting right now during this call, but this was important. So.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we'll let you get back to it, man. You're a busy, busy boy, Brad. But thank you so much for sharing the beer, man. And, of course, if you're ever out that way, definitely make a pit stop by WAR Craft Brewery. We already got a little preview of what may or may not be on tap. And I guess soon you guys will have spirits out that way too, huh?
Absolutely. You'll see us at ABC stores.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brad. Of course, we will, like always, take a quick break and get back to some tunage right here on 105.3 The Bear. So stick around.